Once again, we start off the 10 o'clock hour, and folks, the 10 o'clock hour today is going to be quite a 10 o'clock hour. It's going to be a throwback Sunday coming up somewhere around 9:30. Bill Anstad and NASCAR Dave will be joining us talking about the Sunday in the Country food drive. But before that, we've got Willie Hallihan and Sporting a Cause. Willie, good morning.
Good morning, Marshall. And I can't wait to hear NASCAR Dave. That's going to be a treat.
It's it's a Sunday in the Country food drive time, and even though there is a pandemic going on, they still have to raise money to feed local people. So
yeah, absolutely. I've got a kind of a food-related item to talk about at the end of my bit here today, but I've got a lot to talk to you about before that. So I guess I better get going. The Berkshire Fall Foliage 5K race series is ongoing. I talked about it before. That goes through October 25th. That's an event of sorts to try to resurrect 8 races that were canceled, 5Ks in the Berkshire County area. The Lauren Bardino Memorial 5K continues virtually through the 31st. That's over in Winsted. These are all today and ongoing, the ones I'm talking about. The Little Guild Run and Wag in Cornwall or wherever, that too is virtual. Runs through the end of the month. That's the Little Guild's biggest fundraiser of the year, and it'll be interesting to see how they do. Some races, some events, races and others that have gone virtual have managed to glean almost as much in donations as if the event were held live, in many cases not. So it's a wait and see for all these events. The next 2 events I'm going to talk about are not exactly fundraisers, but they're important for another reason. I'll talk about that for a second. The Healthy Kids Running Series is ongoing. I've talked about that before. In theory, it's over in New York State, but it's virtual now, so it could be anywhere. That continues through the 31st. And also the 3-mile hill hike in another part of the world. This is an in-person series of hikes that are going to be held every Wednesday morning up at the Berkshire South Community Center in Great Barrington, and that's going to go through the November 25th. Spaces for that are limited, so you have to pre-register for that one. Now, the reason I include these 2 events, both the Healthy Kids Running and the 3-mile hill hike, even though they're not fundraisers, is that they're both meant to promote health. The Healthy Kids, of course, for the younger people, and the 3-mile hike for everyone else. And we need that. I think maybe more than ever, we need to be taking care of our health and getting outside, and whether we're running or walking or whatever, it's important. And whenever I see these events come up, I'm going to report on them because I think we'll all be the better for it. Also, it started Thursday and it ends today, is the Eversource Hartford Marathon and Half Marathon. It also included a couple shorter races. But this is a mammoth event that's held every year in the Hartford area. Even though it's outside of my Sporting a Cause area, I include it because it's of interest to many people who live around here. That went virtual this year, and it wraps up today. Like all the other virtual events, there's a mechanism in place to run or walk your event wherever you are and to turn in your times, and they all have their own strategies to do that, so you can pretty much find the links to that on my site. The Steel Rail Half Marathon was supposed to be held today, and this is an interesting event. It's a huge event up in the Great Barrington and Pittsfield area. It's organized by the Berkshire Running Center. It's a huge race for people who run the middle distance, the half marathon, and so forth. It's a moving target because it was supposed to be held in May. They postponed it to today, and then at the last minute they kind of turned it virtual, and it'll run that way through October 31st. I've had to change it a couple times on my website, and you got to feel for these people, no matter what the cause or the event. Everybody is doing their best to try to pull off their events and raise much-needed money. And this is a perfect example of the challenges of doing that. Is the pandemic. We learned more about it and what you could and couldn't do. And the proceeds from that race go to help the Ashewiltacook Rail Trail. I'd love to work that name in whenever I can. Today would have been the Brewski Fest down at Ski Jumps.
Wow, yeah.
But that was canceled, much to a lot of people's disappointment, myself included. And this was not this decision was kind of made for us, and it makes perfect sense. All the Brewski Fest is one of dozens, probably hundreds of beer tasting events that go on around this Oktoberfest time of year. And the breweries just said, we're not going to send our people, because a lot of them are manned by brewery personnel. They said, we're not going to let our people out there to face mobs and mobs of people and put themselves at risk. It's perfectly understandable, and I'm glad that's the way they chose to do it. But we'll just aim, like many other events, we'll aim towards next year. The Capital to Capital 5K will be running virtually today. This is over in the Kingston area, but again, being virtual, it can be run anywhere. It's organized by the Kingston Rotary Club and for the benefit of the Hudson Valley Center for Veteran Reintegration. You can get the details and links over on Sporting a Cause. Today is the 63rd annual Lakeville Open Horse Show. This is the pandemic edition, they call it. It's being held over at the Riga Meadow in Millbrook. And unfortunately, spectators are not allowed because of, and by the way, I think this might be the second oldest event I have on my website next to Jump Fest, which is its 95th year. 63 years is a long time to hold an event. And this is for the benefit of the Lakeville Pony Club. The Mohawk Mountain Race is on today, and actually in person. That's organized by Steep Endurance. The nature of their races, they tend to be longer ones, and safe spacing is not a problem when you're running a longer event, a half marathon, a marathon. People just naturally divide and go their own way. The Northwest Connecticut Rod and Gun Club Turkey Shoot, there's another one today, and this is the second of 8 consecutive Sundays. There are shotgun target shoots that'll end just before Thanksgiving, and the proceeds from that benefit the programs that the Rod and Gun Club hold. The Dental Dash 5K in Thomaston, this is a new one that I've been covering. It too is virtual, and it's run today. This is a little different because you can register right up until 9 p.m. tonight, the day of the race. The ride to end Alzheimer's is being held today. This is a virtual, and it's the cycling version of the walk to end Alzheimer's that we've been hearing a lot about lately. And tomorrow, the E-Fund Scramble Tee-Off for Education will be held over at Under Mountain Golf Course. Tomorrow was supposed to be another golf tournament, the James DeSillo Canaan Exchange Club golf tournament. That was finally canceled. Those folks held out hope as long as they could that they might be able to pull off a delayed tournament, but it just didn't happen. And unlike running events, Marshall, as you can imagine, golf tournaments have the extra challenge of having to deal with golf course availability. You just can't simply switch the date because there are other factors at work. So for a variety of reasons, the Exchange Club decided to cancel their golf tournament for this year. That would have benefited their scholarship fund. Next Saturday, the 17th, there's another walk to end Alzheimer's. This is the Columbia Green version, and it's going to be in person, which is a little different. Around this neck of the woods, we've heard a lot about that in the last few weeks, but it's involved the Northwest Connecticut Walk. But you have to understand that this is a national event. There are 600 walks around the country that take place pretty much this time of year. There's some in the spring, but most of them are this time of year. And we had the Northwest Connecticut one a couple weeks ago. The Columbia Green one is next Saturday, and also next Saturday is the Walk to End Alzheimer's for Dutchess and Ulster counties, but theirs will be virtual. I know this can kind of get confusing, but it's a combination of in-person and virtual, but that's the world we live in this year. Also next Saturday is a new event, and in person, the Great Falls Brewing Company 5-mile road race. That starts and ends at the Great Falls Brewery in downtown Canaan. You have to pre-register. There will be no race day sign-up as is usually typical of these kind of events. You have to pre-register. And I envision this being a really big deal because there's so few races being held this year, actually in person. They're all virtual for the most part. I could see some of these people from the 169 Town Society, those crazy folks that try to run a race in every town in Connecticut. They have been frustrated, I'm sure, by all the cancellations and virtual runs this year. So this is an in-person 5-mile race that I expect will be very well attended. I'll be there to cover that. And that's pretty much it for events, Marshall. But I did want to mention one thing, an event that happened yesterday. And I wanted to mention it because it speaks to a popular theme of mine about the power of collaboration. Now, the Tri-State Strong Donation Drive was held in Lakeville at the Lakeville Methodist Church. And this was a joint effort among 5 different organizations, 2 of them businesses and 3 nonprofits, and to collect food donations for 2 other nonprofits. The Tri-State Chamber of Commerce organized it, and their co-sponsors, so to speak, were the Salisbury Bank and Trust and Lime Rock Park Catering. Those were the businesses. And they were helped out by the Northwest Connecticut Walk to End Alzheimer's people and the Salisbury Rotary Club. And they held a drive to collect food and related items for both the corner food pantry and the Little Guild. So they're collecting for both humans and pets. And it was very, very successful. Tina Hogan told me about that last night. And its success, as I've said before, is a result of both generous people who are actually making the donations and the wonderful folks who put in the time to get together and pull off successful events like this one. So whenever I see those kind of events, and it would be easy not to know about this. You see or read or even participate in a fundraiser like this. Sometimes you don't understand what it took to pull this off, and the genius almost, and the caring that goes into these things. So kudos to those folks for a successful event, and I hope to be reporting about a lot of them in the future.
It's a strange time, but life goes on, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will, Marshall.
Well, Willie, I want you to have a good weekend, what's left of it, and weekend. By the way, there's still stuff outside the church that you can still pick up from that Tri-State Chamber of Commerce event.
Oh, really?
I rode by there this morning, and there's still stuff left out there. So,
oh, great.
So maybe you can continue to help out. And Willie, we'll speak to you next week.
Okay, Marshall. Thanks so much for having me on. Take care.
Take care. Willie Hallihan, Sporting a Cause, sportingacause.com.